Hey everyone, welcome back to the Primal Blueprint podcast. If you're listening to this, this is also a video episode, and the link to that video is in the show notes. I'm really excited to have on the show. I've already done an Instagram live with her, but I really wanted to have her on the podcast. An amazing story, an amazing journey, and really at the forefront of the carnivore diet movement. She's known as Black Carnivore on Instagram and also has an incredible YouTube channel now and a podcast we'll talk about. Ede Fox, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, so let's go through this, man. You know, at what point in life were you like symptoms crept up? What was happening that something was off for you with your health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I think like a lot of people, I have always had allergies and kind of autoimmune stuff. And over the years, I just kind of thought, you know, oh, I have eczema, you know, oh, like when I get a cold, it takes me 6 months before I can breathe again. And, you know, oh, you know, if I get sick, I get bronchitis or like pneumonia. And I didn't really like put all of these things together. And it wasn't until actually in the early 2000s, I went to a naturopathic doctor who was, you know, he was like vegetarian, that whole type. And I thought he was going to say, you know, you got to go vegan, like remove all this stuff. But, you know, he took some tests and turns out I was allergic to soy and corn. And he said, you know, you got to go like cave woman diet, you know, eat nothing that a cave woman didn't eat. And this was like right before paleo kind of blew up.
Yeah,
so I was
how
like,
advanced was this guy? I'm like so impressed with this doctor.
I know, right? He was like, if it comes in a box or a bag, don't eat it. And so, you know, I was like, okay. And, you know, I had done Atkins back in, I think like I was in LA in the late 1990s when the fourth version of that book came out. So of course, everybody was doing it. I did it. And, you know, I was too addicted to sugar to like do it for long, but I did it enough to know like, oh, you know, I can do this. This like is good. I like the food. I'm full and it works. So, you know, when he said that, I was like, okay. And, so, you know, I started to do it and, you know, I really, you know, I tried to like take out corn and soy, but, you know, once I discovered this and started looking, I realized that there's like nothing that doesn't contain corn or soy. So it was a tremendous amount of work. And in some ways I just said, you know, to heck with it. Like I can't, you know, I can't do all of this. So I kind of dealt with my symptoms, you know, things were kind of stable for a while. But, you know, then over time, like I started, you know, eating more sweets and gaining weight as you do. And, you know, next thing I know, I had gained 80 pounds. I was in, you know, just exhausted, totally inflamed, in a lot of pain. And, you know, I finally got to the point where I was like, I got to do something about this. And you know, I started doing, I was like low carb, that worked for me in the past. Let me try this again. And at that point, you know, I knew a little bit of the science, but not a lot. And this was before we called things keto. It was, you know, I mean, there were the urine sticks where you could check your ketones, but it wasn't like, you know, there wasn't a lot of information out there. So I like dove in, I searched for all of the, you know, the YouTube videos I could find. I tried to learn about it. You know, I really became more faithful. You know, I made a commitment. Like I tried to hit around 30 grams of carbs a day, but as long as I was under 50, I was like, I'm good. And it worked, it helped. And so so I lost a lot of weight. I felt a lot better, but there were still nagging problems. And, you know,
what were those nagging problems? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So my allergies were a lot better, but I still used, still use Flonase. So at its worst, like my allergies were such that I used Flonase every day, Claritin. Also, I used Benadryl many days around the clock, both to deal with the allergies and also eczema and just general rashes. I would just like get a rash from eating who knows what. So, you know, so I was always on taking something, and Sudafed too, to like deal with, you know, maybe a sinus infection, who knows. And so that was the height of the problem. So a lot of that resolved, but not all of it. And then I had a lot of breathing trouble too. And you know, it wasn't until later that I actually got diagnosed with asthma, and they told me you have allergy-induced asthma. And so I was like, oh, so this explains why, you know, all my life I had so much difficulty breathing, but now, you know, you're giving me Advair and then the other inhaler, the short acting one, and I took, I think, prednisone for a while just to kind of get everything to calm down because everything was so inflamed. So, it was just like a constant battle. And so even on keto, those things improved but did not get better. And so when I heard people talking about carnivore, I had heard like Amber O'Hearn talking about it for a couple of years. And I had somehow come across Charles Washington's blog like in maybe 2008, 2007, but I just, could not wrap my head around it. So, I didn't do it. But I kept hearing her talk and talk about the incredible changes that happened. And I thought, let me just like give this an honest try. And I saw some women talking about the beef and butter fast. So you just have beef and butter, for 3 days. Sorry, there's so much.
No, you're living in New York, right? So it's going to happen.
Yeah. So, so I did that for 3 days, and then it was
classic New Yorkers just getting aggro. Someone's getting
I know, right? But it was so amazing, like doing that 3 days. I ended up doing it 2 weeks, not 3 days. And
just butter and beef?
Yeah, ground beef. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it was so good. And it was like, I don't know, I just kind of felt like I finally was able to take a breath of air. Like it just, it nourished me in a way that I didn't feel like I had been nourished before. And I had taken out everything. So I wasn't having cheese, I wasn't having, spices, I wasn't having anything but just beef and butter, ground beef and butter. And so it had a tremendous impact. And so then I was like, okay, there clearly is a difference with carnivore. And, I went back to eating cheese. And so I, felt better, but I didn't hit that A1 feeling that I did in the very beginning. So I finally gave up, cheese as well. And that's when my asthma cleared up. So I went about 10 days, I think. And I decided, I had a small amount of cheese. It couldn't have been more than a half an ounce. And within a few hours, I was looking for my inhaler again. And I hadn't used it in 10 days. So it was, pretty stunning for me.
That's a pretty substantial N=1 experiment right there. Yeah. And that tells you everything, that told you everything you needed, I guess. That's amazing. And to think too, dairy is such a culprit in acne, in breathing, in so many things. It's one of those things where sometimes people eliminate that and like their depression goes away. Like these are so important to go along this elimination-ish something discovery, because you never know what you're going to find. And like 1 little ounce of cheese and you have to use your inhaler when you didn't for 10 days. That's so stark.
Yeah. And it was less than an ounce. I mean, it was literally half an ounce. And it, I was stunned. And, the thing was, I didn't want to believe it. So
sure.
I continued to.
No one does, yeah.
I continued to test to really be sure. But then the final thing was I ate cheese at dinner, and then later on I went to bed and I had a dream that I was having an asthma attack, and I woke up and I was like, oh, I need my inhaler. And it was like, oh, this is dangerous now. Like this isn't just, oh, I don't feel good. So, so I just committed to it. And I also gave up coffee at that time, which was surprisingly impactful. And so in my community, I've, now with the Black Carnivore community, we have a Facebook group. We also have multiple times a week Zoom support meetings for us. And then we do the live streams on YouTube, and I try to get out as many videos as I can and do interviews of people who, are following Carnivore Diet and having success. Because I think testimony is it's that tells a story that none other can. But in that group, I'm always, kind of test it, take it out. You don't know that it's not affecting you. You really don't know. And, of course, I get tons of pushback over cheese and coffee. But, when people do it, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, my depression went away. Oh, I don't have anxiety or panic attacks anymore.
Is that what it was for you with the coffee? Can you identify and qualify what coffee correlated to, or was it just...
I just think, general anxiety, and it's just too much energy, I think, running through my body. So I feel uncomfortable, and I'm looking for ways to kind of tamp down that energy. And I think I had a little bit more clear-headedness and more energy in a clean feeling way. I don't know. It's a little bit hard to wrap my head around, but I think it has a lot to do with like mood and anxiety and just, those things. So it was definitely a benefit. However, I am back on coffee. I miss the ritual of having something hot and bitter to drink in the morning. So I've challenged a couple of other people in my group to quit coffee. They have, I didn't. I'm terrible. And so finally today, no coffee.
What about decaf coffee versus caffeinated coffee for you?
I mean, I guess, but decaf tastes so terrible. It's like, why? Why? I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how long now have you been like straight up, you've been on the carnivore train?
So I started this in December 2017. Yeah, 2017. And, I quit alcohol in May of 2018, and then cheese right around then, and coffee right around then. So, so I went a good long period like that. But, I don't know. I try to be more open about where people are on the carnivore train, because what I really want is for people to see this and use this as a tool to achieve optimal health. And people have to get there however they get there in whatever time they get there. So ideally, you get to the point where you're having, some form of meat, eggs, fat, salt, and water. But, it may take people a while to let go of a coffee, of avocado every now and then, of, maybe some cheats where they pay the price, all of those things. So in our group, we kind of came up with a couple of categories of strict, moderate, and relaxed carnivore. And, and then tell people like you can move between those day to day, meal to meal, however you want to do it. You're probably going to feel best strict, but it's going to be up to you how you want to implement this, and it's up to you to decide how good you want to feel. I mean, some people are happy with feeling like 85%, so that they can have their coffee with cream and some kind of artificial sweetener. So.
Tell us, in the world, I knew at once, like you were like, you branched out a little bit. Do you eat all the meats? Do you eat all the organs? Like what are, what are your favorite cuts? Or you're like, I'm just ground beef, and do you eat eggs?
So I go on and off of eating eggs. I have had allergies, I think, to eggs for a long time, and I struggled with them. So I went for many years without them, then I started eating them again. So sometimes they make me feel nauseous, and if that happens, that means, for whatever reason, it's not good for me. And, I kind of decided, though, the way I want to handle this is, one of the really nice things about carnivore is that, it removes all the noise that sugar and other foods create. So you can actually listen to your body signals and know that, you're actually doing the right thing. So if I'm hungry, I'm hungry. If I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry. It's not, there's no battle there. I'm not second guessing things. And so, now that I listen to my body, if I feel nauseous or sick, I don't know why, but my body's now just decided we're not doing eggs. So, so that's what I do. So now I'm in a phase where it seems to be okay. Sometimes I have cravings for them. So I try not to eat them more than a couple times a week. And, I don't want to like overexpose in case that's a problem. And, we'll just leave it at that. As far as meats, I eat broadly, but, my favorite stuff is beef. And it's no accident that, you hear carnivores always talking about beef. It's not, in my opinion, it's not that we're just like, yes, beef. It's just that, we feel best on red meat, on ruminant meat. And of course, for Americans, beef is the most ubiquitous and easily accessible ruminant meat. But that's what makes me feel best. So I don't like to go a whole day without eating beef. I now will eat other stuff, but, I know that I prefer beef.
And do you have a favorite? Are you like, I love ground beef, I love ribeyes, I love fillets? Like, do you have a, particular like, oh, that's my jam?
Yeah, all of them. They're all good.
All good.
I mean, I like to mix it up and, so yeah, I'll eat all the things.
You're mostly beef, some eggs, salt, water, a little coffee, and that's it.
Yeah. Wait, it seems like there must be something else in there.
Is there anything else?
Yeah. I don't know. It feels very varied to me. Like, I don't feel at all like it's a very limited diet. I know people say that, but I'm kind of like, if it's your favorite thing to eat, like, what's the problem? It's good yesterday. It's good today. It's good tomorrow. If I get bored of it, then, I can swap over to a chuck roast, and that's good. So
yeah, I mean, yeah. I've spoken to and I've coached a few people that have to be on the carnivore train based on their autoimmune issues and whatever, and it's been nothing short of a miracle. I've talked to Paul Saladino a bunch, and even Sean Baker and all the people in the space. Let's hear it from you in your community. For the people that have, come in and they're finally like, okay, I need to do this. Tell us about some of those 180 miracles of symptoms dissipating with people. You've talked about your asthma. That is such a huge thing, right? Like face stuff, acne, that's a huge thing with people too. When they start to get healthy and clean stuff up and go paleo, their face will clean up. But carnivore, what are some other things you've heard that people are like, oh my God, I had this damn thing and I can't believe it's gone now? Or some of those to just inspire people if they're out there suffering from those, they might want to take a look.
Yeah, well, acid reflux is a thing I hear all the time. Wow. And, we don't really think about that as like, a big deal. But like, if I were coming to your house every night and splashing the acid in your face, like you'd think that was a big deal. It is a big deal. Very painful, uncomfortable, and damaging. And it's amazing how quickly that is something that just turns around for people. And it wasn't, it's generally not even on the list of things that they're trying to deal with. Most people are coming, looking to deal with weight loss or managing diabetes. And then, that's one of the things. Also, mood is amazing. People are just so much more even-tempered and just able to deal with the stresses and challenges of life more effectively. And then another would be
I want to highlight that one. I want to highlight that one because we had on Brett Lloyd, and he was on multiple antidepressants for many, many years, and it was a total disaster. And carnivore fixed it all for him. I mean, him crying on the podcast, you could hear him tearing up over all of the medicines and things, and even tearing up because he knew he didn't treat his wife right all those years when you could tell he's probably apologizing to her every week, It is amazing, right? Nothing short of amazing when this happens to you, right? That you clear something up that doctors tell you, we're going to need this pill, you need this pill. What I love about both of you in this experiment, and honestly kind of anyone in carnivore, because a lot of doctors aren't going to tell you to go there unless it is a carnivore doctor or a paleo doctor who might be on it and know about carnivore. This is all you. You were like, I am not going to live this way. I'm going to try, I'm going to look, I'm going to do some experiments, right? And like you said, you went down the train, got lighter, low carb, and then you hit carnivore. So I just want to highlight that the mental, the depression, the anxiety, and the mood stability benefits of this is outstanding. And that's something you hear from almost every person who's on it. So I just wanted to highlight that, but continue on with the list of great things people are getting rid of.
Yeah. And then having energy, I think that is particularly, many of the people in my community or, in my following me on Instagram or YouTube are, in the midlife and have, kids and jobs and responsibilities and all kinds of things. And then to have all of that going on. And then on top of that, having to carry around a lot of excess weight and not have energy and not be nourishing yourself because, again, they're all trying to, have salads or do, the thing that they, the things that we're told are necessary to lose weight. And so that is something that turns around, pretty quickly. I mean, the thing about carnivore and we'll even go in keto, I feel like, there is a tough barrier to entry. It does take a while to adapt. And so you're not going to feel great right away. So one of the things I really wanted to do was work really hard to simplify and explain and just kind of walk people, handhold them through that process so they get to the other side. But I've been able to do that, and I've done, a couple of challenges, like 2-week challenges, and worked with people, and they get to the other side, and it's stunning. Like, it's not, they're like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, I did. I've been saying this forever. Nobody listens to me. So, yeah, but you won't believe until you experience it. So that's another thing that is just really spectacular. And one of the things that I want most to explain to people, because I think that is kind of, at least for the age group of population that I am dealing with, that's like, one of the most challenging things. Like, how do you just like get through your day and get through life and not have to like sit down and take a nap and like go get the coffee? And so, that's pretty amazing. And then some other things is I've had some people with, various kinds of like, head or brain issues, and I've gotten them on more fat. And, that's a challenge in and of itself to get, women to eat more fat. So, working with them to like, really increase it significantly and really pay attention to the quality of the fat. We've seen people's, mental state, mental status really turn around. I mean, within a tremendous amount of mental clarity, evenness of mood, and like, just the ability to do, creative work or complicated, problem solving type work that really requires a lot of brain energy. And seeing that really made me realize that, like, we, especially as women, are so undernourished. And I do wonder if at the beginning of the carnivore diet, when you're losing a lot of weight, if it isn't, especially more important at that time to get really quality fat from red meat, or from ruminant meat, because, as we're losing weight, we're eating our body parts, right? And you're pulling out your fat from your fat stores. But that is like the donut that you ate, last year, and the pizza and all the other vegetable and seed oils. So you're pulling that out and mixing that up in the mix, and like being, I guess, re-inflamed and re-irritated by it. So I kind of wonder if, some of what is so uncomfortable in the beginning part of carnivore, or even, a very aggressive keto diet isn't that as well. So, I really did try to encourage people to get better quality fats and really, dive into that. And I see a lot of benefit there as well.
So tell it, because, people listening or watching are going to be really curious about a few things. I'll ask some TMI questions, but we all want to know, like, so do you have a bowel movement every day?
No.
Like, are you regular?
In my own way, but no, not daily.
Okay. So that's one thing.
I mean, that was something to get used to in the beginning. Like, it's not, if you're not consuming that much fiber, you're not going to create that much waste.
Right.
So, right. Yeah. So then, no, you're not.
But you never feel constipation or weird, any gut, anything with that. It's all good.
No, but I did do a live stream like a while back, whenever this gets published, a while back, where, I walk people through some of the common problems and solutions of getting started on a carnivore diet. And there were things there that I kind of wish that I had done in retrospect. So in the early days, a lot of people have, various kind of digestive issues, from diarrhea to constipation to like burping and difficult digestion. And, a lot of that can be really, chalked up to just not having strong enough stomach acid, because, your stomach acid is sort of weakened by the vegetable and plant matters that we eat. So, some people come into it just not, their system just isn't ready yet to deal with all of the fat and the protein. So it doesn't mean that we're not going to, it just means it takes a little while. So I wish that I had known then, don't drink water with your meals. Don't dive right in and try to do 2 pounds in one meal and eat nothing else for the day. Try to take HCl tablets, which is, supports your stomach. It's a hydrochloric acid, but it supports your stomach acid and helps you to digest some of these foods. And, that's a supplement that you can take for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks until you get to the point where your body's able to handle it, and then you come down on the pills. So it's not something that you take forever, but it's an assist. So all of those things I think would have been, helpful and, sort of easing that process in for me. But, you get there anyway. It's just,
well, yeah, no, totally. I mean, but like, hey, that's a great tip for someone to consider to have around in case that first couple of weeks of adjustment. I've heard about, I understand this adjustment phase. Yeah. So
there are a few things that I tell people just to buy and have. The stuff doesn't, expire real soon. And at 2 a.m., you'd rather you had it than not. So just buy it and have it. And then, if you don't need it, great.
What about, so let's talk about in general, what does it look like your day in terms of amount of meat? And also, are you eating twice, 3 times? Like, you just like, what does your day look like?
Yeah, it's usually 2 or 3 times a day. So I'm not one of those 1 meal a day folks at this point in time. I might, well, right now I'm on a hamburger phase. So I've been using my my air fryer almost continuously for the last couple of months. And then I started frying hamburgers in a cast iron pan on the stovetop, and it was delicious. So I've been doing that. So that's where I'm at right now.
So, and then what is it kind of roughly? Are you eating like a pound of beef a day, or have you even noticed kind of, I mean, I know you're not trying to target anything specifically. You're probably going on the intuitive of, what your body needs and wants at any given time, but what does it look like?
Well, I do pay attention to amounts because, I'm thinking about like my budget and, how much to buy at any one time. So I do kind of pay attention to how much the amounts are, but somewhere between 1.5 to 2 pounds a day.
Okay. It's interesting to me. So carnivore has to be, I mean, I really think compared to the standard diet, carnivore has to be one of the cheaper ways to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. People always think it.
I mean, you might
really
give us an example of like how much money. Like you must be saving so much money per month now. If you look back at what you were paying before, I bet it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think I signed up for mint.com, federal gun run website. So one time I did it and I looked at how much money I spent on food in a month. Like it includes also, restaurants and alcohol and everything, but including all of that. I mean, it was like 1 month, it was like, almost a quarter of my budget. And I was like, oh my God, and I'm one person. So, I do pay attention to that. And I would say I spend so much less money now as a carnivore. So when people say, oh, it's too expensive, I'm like, it is not. The thing is, like at my grocery store, ground beef is $3.89 a pound, and so is broccoli. But I can eat a pound of ground beef for $3.89 and be done, but a pound of broccoli is just going to be a nightmare and not going to do anything.
It's going to be a nightmare, and it's not going to do anything. You're not going to be satiated. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't think it's more expensive. And I think about all the things that I'm not buying, all the medications. And then, I put a post up on Instagram maybe a couple weeks ago where, sorry, I don't know what's up. I put a,
okay, I'm recording.
Camera. I put a post up on Instagram of my medicine cabinet. So I had tried to make more room in my kitchen cabinet. So I put all of like the medicines and supplements and everything on a top shelf. And I went up there to kind of get rid of it. And I realized like a lot of this stuff had like way expired, like 2 years ago. And there were so many things that I used to take all the time. And I think about how much money I spent on, Tylenol and Advil and Aleve and Claritin and Flonase and Benadryl and Sudafed. That stuff's not cheap at all. And, so that was a lot of money there. Plus, the supplements that I thought I needed to take, vitamin C, probiotics, and everything else. It was just, it was a tremendous amount of stuff. And so I am so pleased that, I'm done with all that. I haven't taken anything, in that time. I haven't had to take anything. So it's
other
it's
than salt
reckless.
and the meat and the water and the coffee, you don't have to take a supplement, and you don't do anything else to add on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've bought the supplements. So, when, so-and-so said, buy this, I bought it. When so-and-so said, buy that, I bought it, and I like tried it for a little bit. But I really just hate taking a lot of stuff. And so if I'm not noticing like a real immediate impact, it's not top of mind. Yeah.
What about, are you a regular exerciser? Were you before this? And how has that corresponded with that? Or you have not been, I mean, I don't know what you're.
Yeah. I was when I was losing weight. I did a lot of lifting and I really enjoyed it, and it really transformed my body, and it was awesome. Then a number of things happened with life that, kept me away from the gym. And then, now I kind of lost my chance, but my gym just reopened. So I don't know, maybe I'll get back in there. So, other than like walking my dog and, we go to the dog park and stuff. So, I mean, I usually hit 12 to 15,000 steps in a day, but I'm not like,
That's really great. That's a lot of being on your feet and walking, and that's great. So, I mean, that's very ancestral. You don't need to be doing CrossFit every day to do this. Tell us, what are some other things that come to mind, either that you've heard from people, or like that was a very great, interesting tip to be like, ooh, first couple of week adjustments, HCL might be a hack to throw in there in the event of. What are some other things that you can think about that might have come up, either interesting questions you've been asked from other people, or some other, people's experiences that might, highlight this whole diet for us?
Yeah, the other thing that I'm always pushing on my live stream, and I made a video about this as well, is to get those electrolytes in and get the salt in. I think that, we have been done such a disservice by, the powers that be, the people who tell us what to eat and what to do, to put the fear of God into us about salt. And like that is okay, I guess, on a carb diet, but it is like impossible on a carnivore diet.
Right.
And so I'm always pressing people, you have to eat more salt. And they're like, oh, I use a ton of salt. I use like a quarter of a teaspoon. And it's like, we're talking about like tablespoon amount, maybe more.
Right. Like throughout a day, you mean that might be the requirement. Yes, absolutely. It's so important. I mean, it's kind of known, and a lot of people who might have dabbled into keto might have heard that, but especially important for carnivore. So that cannot be skipped out on. Yeah. And
I think people hear it, but they don't, it's hard to visualize what that actually looks like.
Right.
So, So again, when I tell people to buy stuff, I just say get some liquid supplements. I like the keto chow drops, but there's other stuff, on Amazon and stuff that just give you all the electrolytes in a little dropper form, and you can add it to every glass of water that you have.
What's that product called you just mentioned? The drops?
So I use Keto Chow. I do have a store on Amazon if you want to do that. And I have an electrolyte section, and so I have all the drops there. But there are little drops that are suspended in water, and you can just put drops into your glass. So it's not even like you don't have to stir anything up. No powder. I do see some electrolyte powders that have artificial sweeteners and all this stuff in it. I totally against that. Don't do that. Just get the straight up electrolytes. And I find that water tastes better with it in. So that's an indication to me. Sometimes people are like, oh well, it's not natural, and why do we need anything? And I say, our water has been denatured. Like if we were in ancestral times, we would be drinking water from that lake or that spring or wherever, and it would have this stuff in it. So we're just replacing what has been removed in our own cleansing, purifying process. So, but yeah, I really encourage people, you got to just do it in every, in every cup of water. And, sometimes, especially people are having trouble with electrolytes, I tell them just eat multiple times a day, because, you're going to get salt with every meal. And if you're trying to get all your salt in one meal, it's going to create great gastrointestinal distress. And there's only so much you're going to be able to consume. And you may not have it at the time that you need it throughout the day. And when you start to feel bad, like it takes forever. I feel like it takes a while to kind of like get, fully back to where you started. And, so in that case, like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about, again, tell us about your Amazon store, all the places. We'll put all these links in the show notes, but tell us where we can find you and your carnivore community. If people are, like, I need to look at this, I've got asthma, I've got problems, and, they're hearing you, how can we connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have an Amazon store. It's Black Carnivore on Amazon. And if you go to my YouTube channel on every video, like I have all the links there for the Amazon store. I also have a Facebook group, Black Carnivore, and through the Facebook group, you can get access to the other stuff that we do. But there's also a sign-up link to get on the email list, and so you're totally aware of all the things that we've got going on in the community. And and that's it. And then
are you Black Carnivore on all the platforms?
Mm-hmm.
So YouTube. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and of course you can follow me on Instagram as well. So it's good stuff. Very exciting. And I'm doing coaching.
Oh, you do private coaching? I was going to ask you that next. So great. So if someone wants to just talk to you privately about this and their journey, you're doing that. And how do we reach out to you about that?
Probably the best way is to send me a direct message on Instagram. But, I have a link where on the YouTube channel where you can, just sort of sign up and schedule an appointment. But I'm probably will, by the time this comes out, have a website or something up where you can, learn a little bit more about me and my approach and, and so on. So, yeah, but really my goal is just about helping people focus on, achieving optimal health. And certainly in the Black community, like metabolic syndrome, the top diseases are diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. So, dealing with I feel like dealing with metabolic syndrome, there's enough research to show that like getting yourself on a ketogenic diet can reverse, those things and really, put you in a position where you are going to be able to prevent those diseases. So, my focus is just helping people get straight and stable on the diet. If you need a little bit more flexibility, if you can't get super strict in the beginning, that's okay, because the most important thing is to get you in a ketogenic state and get you stable there, not going in and out of it, but, be on it and get you the support that you need. And, that's why I think like the Facebook group and the Zoom groups are so critical, because, the way I see it, like we're like alcoholics working in a bar where you're expected to drink for your job, and it's free and ubiquitous, and you're supposed to drink it at any time of day, morning, noon, and night. So we're living in a hostile, a sugar hostile environment, and to be able to withstand that pressure and not give in and eat all of these things, like we need a tremendous amount of support, and that's what we're trying to provide and normalize, what we're doing, eating, whole real foods and whole real meats. So, so it's hard work, and that's what we're trying to do, and just really create a hub and a place so, that people can find us, get information, do other stuff if they want to, come back. But, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, everyone can tell listening or watching you, like you're always have such a great chill vibe, so welcoming, so open. I think you feel like a safe space to go for someone like that. And I've, again, been watching your work here over the past year or two and just loving what you're putting out there. And I'm really glad I'm glad you've just come out and played, because again, we need people like you who have been through this to help others. And especially, honestly, like you just said, being a model for the Black community, I was looking recently, like there are very few health authors or anyone, people of color, that are writing books on metabolic health and dysfunction. It's really difficult to find. We need more of that, because that also is really the section of the population suffering the most, and they're certainly not getting the right treatment from the medical community. So it really shouldn't be a prevalent problem in one ethnic group or another, right? It just shouldn't be. But that one's suffering the most, and I feel like what you're doing is incredible, not just for everybody, but also to be sort of a pillar of your own community and to be a representative, like, hey, this can change. You don't need to identify with having asthma or X, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although most people have one or two or three of the things that we describe. So, Yeah. And, I think this is also why, like, I've tried to keep things really simple and not, kind of get into like the biohacking and all the other stuff that people are doing. Because I think that it's just super damaging and confusing for somebody, who's still trying to lose an 80, 90 pounds, still has, insulin resistance, is still trying to get their blood pressure down, things like, honey is the thing that everyone's talking about now. And then, right. Starting to experiment with more carbs and stuff like that. And, and maybe that's fine for a healthy part of the population, but I think most members of the population are not metabolically healthy. So it's not really helpful to, kind of talk about that as, a normal thing. I think that it is, many people have come to me like, I don't understand why, I'm gaining weight, or my insulin, resistance is worse, or my blood glucose is higher. And, I'm only having a little bit of honey. And it's like, a little bit is a problem when you're sick. Like you can't do it.
I agree. It's taking 5 steps backwards sometimes on just a little something like that. And I always say to people, how quickly do you want to get better?
Yeah.
That's really, that's the only question you have to understand. If that's yes, then just ditch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on again. And we'll put everything in the show notes to connect with you on all of your platforms. Is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with?
That's it. I mean, come hang out in, my YouTube channel. We do the live stream twice a week. It's really fun. Lots of people love to come and hang out and chat and, tell jokes. And it's actually really a community. People come into the chat to say hi to each other. And then, it's us interviewing people, talking about stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And I encourage you all to come and join the fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Ede. I really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, great.